All right, we're live. Hello and welcome everyone to the Metabase 51 release webinar. We have a great lineup for you today. A little bit of a lineup change. Unfortunately, Gleb wasn't able to make it, so Alex has stepped in for us. Thank you for taking over. So a little bit of an overview of the agenda. We've got Connor up first, taking us through some new visualization improvements. Then we're going to have Luis to talk about the new Databricks driver and skim provisioning. Then Alex will talk about time granularity on dashboards and metrics as well. And then to round it out, Alberto is going to be taking us through some new embedding improvements. And just a reminder, you've got the chat box there on the right, so feel free to drop in any comments, say hello. And you've also got the Q&A box there next to it. So yeah, add questions as you think of them, add reactions. Yeah, let us know what you think. So we also have a poll. Feel free to jump in there and give your, have your say there at any time. But without further ado, I think we're just going to get straight into it. We've got a lot to get through. So Connor, over to you.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. I'm Connor. I'm a product manager on the team here based in Brooklyn, New York. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and I'll walk through some improvements to dashboards and visualizations in 51. All right. Cool. You should be seeing my screen right about now. Let me know if you have any questions or anything throughout the demo in the chat. The team's really excited about these, so let's get right into it. We'll start off with the most glamorous improvement to 51, the new shiny sunburst chart. So now you can visualize your hierarchical data in Metabase with the new sunburst pie chart. In this example, I'm looking at Pokemon data, and so I can nicely see, for instance, on the Game Boy Advance, like games with 80 Metacritic score were all released on a Tuesday. So that might be interesting. So you can now do this type of hierarchical parts of a whole analysis that you couldn't do before. This is just a subset of pie charts. So now you have the ability to add up to 3 rings. You can see here I have platforms, the inner ring, score, and then day of the week. Very interested to hear how you guys will use this. So drop some examples in the chat. But yeah, sunburst pie charts are now available. We've also added more configuration ability to pie charts in general. So now you can reorder stuff as you please, whether it's a normal pie chart or a sunburst pie chart. You can easily go in and rename things directly from Viz settings. And you can also switch the color kind of as you please as well. More on the configuration side, we've added a lot more control over labels and percentages as well. So now you can kind of specify the number of decimal places for your percentages. You can see here my legend was updated. And you can also have a little bit more control into the labels and what's shown. So in this case, maybe I want to just show the percentages on the sunburst chart. Now I can. So you have control to really cater and customize your pie chart to whatever you desire. That's sunburst pie charts. Let's hop over to dashboard land and talk a little bit about kind of showing and hiding multiple series. So if I head over to this dashboard and can play along with me, I'm a consumer, I'm interested in certain things and maybe not others. You can now easily click on the bubbles in the legend to show and hide series. So if I'm interested in a number of orders, I can see just that. If I'm interested in both, I can see that too. Maybe what I care about is really doohickeys versus widgets. So I can easily remove gadgets and gizmos. This is sophisticated business lingo here. So now I can see that widgets comprised of like about 60% of our revenue versus doohickeys. So no more mucking around with the query or the questions themselves. You can just do this directly from the legend and kind of see what you want and cut through the noise. You might have also noticed that tooltips look a little different. So tooltips got a makeover. The behavior is going to be a lot nicer. You'll see for things like percentage change, the percentages are much closer to the data point. So hopefully they're a little bit more understandable. And we've also added the ability to layer on more context here. This is sneaky, one of my favorite improvements in 51. So if I go over to this question and I add a couple more metrics, maybe I care about the average order as well as the kind of max order. Now, if I go into viz settings, you'll see that only the charted metric is shown by default. But if I think this additional information will be helpful context for a viewer, I can go in and add it with additional tooltip metrics. So let's go ahead and add the average and the max. And now when I hover over, I can see not only the kind of total revenue, but I can see the average order and the max order here for each category, kind of nicely denoted in the subtext. So it's really exciting for kind of contextualizing things and telling a richer story around a given data point. Let's talk a little bit more about dashboards. In 51, we've added the ability to bring in external content into your dashboard, which is really exciting. It opens up a whole kind of realm of possibilities. So let me show off a couple examples that I'm personally excited about. So you can do this by using the linker iframe card in dashboards. You can go into iframe and you can add your external content right next to all your other charts and data. So let's think about a couple examples here. The first one that I get excited about is kind of looms or slides to contextualize your dashboard or do some storytelling right next to where it is. So you can just add your lumen and look at that. It's me kind of talking through this dashboard for all my consumers so they can just understand it right there. You can also do some exciting workflow stuff. So if you're using something like sheets or surveys to pipe data in, you can put the data entry right next to the dashboard and the data itself. So in this case, let's say I'm using a Google Sheet, maybe manifested in BigQuery or something. I can go ahead and put the spreadsheet right next to the data. Let's reformat this a little. And just like that, I can enter my data and kind of see it show up in real time. Last but not least, I think Metabase is awesome. I hope you do too. But there are certain use cases that other charting tools serve well. For instance, Grafana does real-time data very well. So maybe you want to pull in charts and graphs from other products to kind of put next to everything else in your Metabase instance. You can do that as well. If I go up here and add an iframe from a Grafana chart, I can go ahead and hit done. And just like that, I have kind of my line chart here from Grafana. So yeah, this is really exciting. I'm curious how y'all will use this. So drop some ideas or inspiration in the chat. But these are the 3 use cases that are getting me really, really excited to have external content kind of closer to everything else in Metabase. Last but not least, before I hand the mic over, let's talk a little bit about getting your data out of Metabase. So there are some use cases or examples around data that like it's better off in maybe Excel or Sheets. We've added a new download UI to get that data out of Metabase and be able to configure it exactly how you please. So what that looks like is if I go here to a pivot table, I can hit download full results and you'll see the new download UI here where you can easily choose the file format, whether you'd like it to respect the formatting or just be the unformatted data. And the new shiny option here is for keeping data pivoted. So for pivot tables, you can keep the totals, the grand totals, the pivoted shape, or you can uncheck this and just get back the raw data. So hopefully your lives in Excel or Sheets or wherever else you do your data work are a little nicer because you can get back exactly what you please. That's the gist for viz and dashboard updates in Metabase 51. I'll go ahead and stop sharing now. And if you have any questions, like I said, just drop them in the chat and we'll circle back to them. But yeah, hope this is as exciting for y'all as it was for our team.
Awesome. Thanks, Connor. Luis, you're up next.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. So I'm going to present a few projects here. So starting with the Databricks driver. So now we support Databricks as an official data source. So there's not a lot to demo because this is basically just a new database, but I'll just show setting up this. So you can go add a new database, and now all instances will have Databricks as an option. And then you just connect to Databricks as you would to any other data warehouse or data source. So I'll just get my credentials here and yeah, connect. So this is our test instance. And so yeah, no, very simple, like as you do with any other database. You have this prompt to configure permissions if you want. We'll start this synchronization process here. So sync's done. So yeah, now you can see Databricks here. It works like any other database. So if I open here a table, you see the results. Yeah, that's it. So I think the only caveat here is that we support only a single catalog for now. So you need to choose a catalog. You can't sync multiple catalogs at the same time. But besides that, it works like any other Databricks, any other database in Metabase. All right, cool. So next feature that I'm going to demo, both are paid features, so available in Pro plans. So the first is the scheme user provisioning feature. So we changed a bit this page, the authentication page, and now we have 3 tabs here. We have the authentication tab to how users can log into Metabase, have user provisioning and API keys. So user provisioning, now you can enable scheme. So, and when you enable scheme, you get your scheme endpoint URL and your scheme token. These things can be used with Okta or Microsoft Entra. These were the 2 IDPs that we tested, but yeah, should work with other IDPs too. And what this does is effectively provisions and deprovisions your users automatically based on your IDP. So the main benefits, now you can have a centralized place to manage your users using your IDP, and especially for removing users from Metabase, because before it wasn't possible to remove users automatically on the IDP unless you use the API, but now you can centralize everything using scheme. So yeah, this is scheme. And the last feature that I'm going to demo is clean up collections. So this is also a paid feature in Pro plans. So now collections have this little button here, clean things up. What this does for now is to look for content that's not used in a certain amount of time, and then you can find and send these things to trash. So this is how it looks. You can choose the time period. The default here 6 months. So this dashboard was not used in 6 months, so you can go ahead and move to trash. But you can also change this to be even more strict, like 2 months, 1 month. And you can select multiple, move to trash, and also you can include items in sub-collections. So if you run this in our analytics, clean things up, include all collections, you are effectively cleaning up the entire Metabase instance. So yeah, and remembering, like, now our trash also looks a bit different. So before it was a very special page with some weird behavior. Now trash is very similar to any other collection. So when you open the trash here, you see the items that you trashed, and it shows who sent it to the trash, when, and you can also check it. You have this big red bar informing you that you are opening an item in the trash, so you can here move permanently, delete permanently, or restore. Yeah, and then you can also use search to find things here in the trash as well. So if you go and filter here, oops, sorry, you can just search items in the trash if you are looking for something that you can't find. Yeah, that's it. That's the news in the admin and organization side of things. That's it. Thank you.
Cool, thanks, Luis. There's a nice range of features there. Cool. Next up, we got Alex.
All right. Hello, everyone. Let me share my screen. I think it's this one. All right. So the first feature I want to talk about is one of our very highly requested features is parameterizing dashboard by months. You know how you have those metrics that are sometimes by month, sometimes by quarter, sometimes by week. And some of you might have had to make dashboards with, say, different types for each time granularity. Well, you don't need to do that anymore because we introduced a time grouping parameter where you can apply the time granularity to the entire dashboard. For example, this dashboard currently, every chart is grouped by months, but I can change it to quarter, and every chart will be grouped by quarter. You see my trend charts change to previous quarter, all my line charts and pivot tables change to quarter. I can go back and change it by day and by week. And this is all done on a dashboard level, so you don't need to create individual charts. So let me show you quickly how to make this happen. So I'll create a question. Let's say just count of orders by created months. I'm going to save it and add it to a dashboard. So now in the filter menu, I have this new option called time grouping. So I'm going to pick it and connect it to the created at field. Save, and there we go. Now the time grouping in this question is connected to this parameter, and I can change it to whatever I want. So if you go to the question, this doesn't actually change the underlying question, but if you click on the question from here, you will have a modified question with the time granularity applied, but the base question itself remains unchanged with my original granularity, which was months. So this is, I think, pretty cool and will save at least me a lot of work. A related thing I wanted to show in terms of like using different time granularities for on the same question is now you can do things like count by months, or let's say maybe count by year, and then count by months of the year for the same field created at. This was previously you could only group by one of the time granularity. Now I can do two, and that helps me create things like year-over-year charts where I can see the breakdown by year and each month within each year. Okay, so this is time granularity on dashboards and multiple breakouts for grouping by time series. One of the, I think, biggest projects that we had in the 51 is how we changed our metrics. So if you used metrics before in Metabase, it was kind of this thing that admins could do and then someone else could use. But in Metabase 51, we enable basically anyone who has the right permissions, at least, to create metrics and communicate it to everyone else in the company. For example, let's say you have your standard product metrics like daily active users. Does everyone in the company know what that means? Does everyone know what daily means? Is it like starting midnight, last 24 hours? What is an active user? Did they click a button? Did they spend 10 minutes in the app? Who is a user? Is it by individual emails or like by user IDs? You cannot expect everyone in the company to know how to construct this metric. So you can build it on your own right now and make it available for everyone else. So for example, I have 2 metrics built on the orders table here, where I predefined what is revenue and what is average quantity for orders. So people who are building their own questions or explore already existing questions don't have to think about what this means. So I can visualize revenue, but I can also, because the metric is predefined, I can do things like break it out by category and maybe group it by months, and build a visualization without thinking about what the actual formula for revenue is. So let me again show you how to build this. I can start by creating a new metric. And let me maybe start with the accounts table. And I'm going to build sort of an active user metric. So I want to look at accounts table joined with analytic events. And maybe I want to only look at accounts that do have events. Maybe I want to look at accounts with active subscription, who, let's say, maybe clicked a button, and maybe in the last, well, probably you want something like 24 hours, but this is our sample data, so there is not much of it. I'm going to just say the last 12 months, and maybe I want to count these users. So I will visualize this. It will give me a count, and I'm going to save it as, say, active users metric. So this is how I'm in my company compute active users. So now anyone who starts a new question from accounts table can have this metric applied and broken out by whatever it is they want. So they don't have to think about how the definition is done. These metrics are found in the browse metrics. So here is my active users metric, and I can go and edit metric definition. For example, instead of just counting, maybe I want to like subtract some test users that I have. So I can edit the metric, and it will apply through all the questions that use it. Metrics now live in collections. So for example, I have this orders collection that has 2 metrics, average quantity and revenue, that I showed you previously. I have this metric, active users, living in our analytics collections. That means that you can control permissions for metrics on the collection level, just like you do with questions. All right, so this is metrics. And one final thing I want to show you is click actions on SQL questions. So let me go here to Metabase 50. You can tell it's old because it's all faded and yellow. And if I start a SQL query, like select everything from products, for example, and I run it, if I try to do anything on this visualization, I get this message, drill through doesn't work on SQL questions. This is not very user-friendly, right? Because people who are looking at your questions in the dashboards, they don't care whether you wrote your question in SQL or Query Builder. They just want to explore the data. So we enabled exploration options for SQL questions. In Metabase 51, if I do the same thing, select all from products, I will need to save the question to make it work. So now if I have a SQL question with some visualization, I can do a lot of stuff that I could previously do only in the Query Builder. For example, let's have this price column. I can now build a distribution, and it doesn't tell me that each can't do this because it's a SQL question. Or I can, let's say, filter. I can look at all the results that are doohickeys. And again, I don't get this message that drill through is not available. So you can also maybe like sum over time. There we go. And so basically now, if you open a dashboard, I have this dashboard with only SQL questions over here. Pretty much your users, with the exception of really drill down options, will not know whether you built it with SQL or not, because they will have still many of the drill through options available to them on the dashboard. The only things that are not available are the ones that would require you to change the query, right? So we cannot like disaggregate the records, for example, because we still don't parse SQL. But anything that is working with the existing result set, like filtering, grouping, building distribution charts, now available for SQL questions as well. So that's all I had.
That was awesome. Thank you. All right. Last presenter of the day, Alberto.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alberto. I'm a product manager at Metabase, where I look after embedding. And so let's get started. Let me share my screen. All right. I hope you're seeing my screen all right. And yeah, so first I wanted to talk about our new exciting SDK, so for embedding. So if you're familiar with embedding already, you'll know that we currently have two main, so far we've had two main embedding features. So you can do static embedding, and static embedding is an easy, relatively simple way to get started and just embed a dashboard or a chart. And yeah, it gets you set up pretty easily, but it has its limitations. And I think a part of it is like it lacks interactivity. There's no drill down, and there's also no ability to self-serve. So it's like your users can't write their own queries or can't explore the data on their own and so on. So I can show you an example. This is how a static embedding looks like today, right? So yeah, it's a dashboard. You can have filters, but that's pretty much it. There's no drilling down or anything that you can do. So we also had interactive embedding, and interactive embedding is about, it works by embedding all of Metabase inside of your app. And from there, you can customize a bit the look and feel by changing a few settings. So we support, I think, changing the UI colors, like the font colors, like colors of the buttons and the colors of the charts and so on. And then you can also hide certain features or buttons inside of the UI, but that's about it. I'm going to show you briefly how it looks like. So this is our live demo for interactive embedding. And you see this is the application navigation, and this below is the iframe embedding all of Metabase. And if I go to assignments, you see it looks familiar, right? This is really Metabase, but it is Metabase with all its features. You can hide like the top navigation, the side navigation, and do a few tweaks like that, but not much else. This enables full self-service, which is something that like a lot of customers really value. And since our query builder and our data exploration capabilities are great at Metabase, but some of the many customers, right? They for them it's still not enough, right? So I think some of the issues that we see are that it's full-blown self-service, but you cannot, let's say, control the experience so much. So if you have, let's say, a set of users who are curators that should have self-service access, and then another set of like just plain viewers, it's hard to provide them with an experience where they can explore the data, drill down, and so on, but not necessarily like create questions, dashboards, and so on. Also, the theming capabilities, like in terms of like making it feel or like integrate seamlessly with your application. It's pretty limited, and so they would like to more control, right? And I think it comes down to probably two things. It's still an iframe, so it's still like a bounding box within your app, and I think you can even tell that it's a box inside of your app, and so there's no way, let's say, to integrate the navigation. So you end up probably, if you're using a Metabase navigation, you end up with two navigations bars inside of your app, things like that. And then the other one is more fine-grained control over the look and feel, like being able to customize all the colors. Maybe like Metabase is always light background, and you cannot change that. If your application happens to be dark, well, you're probably out of luck, right? And so that's another thing. And then the last thing is that I think some customers wanted just way more control, like let's say control or override certain menu items, which options are available, or like which collections users can save into, or have like events that the application can subscribe to know that something happened inside of Metabase. And yeah, so with all of this, we decided to create an embedding SDK. It's an embedding SDK that targets React. So if you're using React in your front end, then it's a great fit. It's component based, so you can pull into your application just the components that you need, and you have way more control over what happens. So I'm going to show you. This is the live demo we put together for the SDK. And some of the things we wanted to show here, for example, is, we're used to seeing, let's say, the iframe with the self-service capabilities and maybe some dashboards. But some of the things we wanted is, like, this is our app called Shopee. You can think of it as a platform where people can operate their e-commerce stores. And let's say you're signing in as an admin, right? So you want to see how your products are performing. And here we're embedding a trend chart, a parameterized trend chart for each of their products. And it just like blends seamlessly with the application, right? There's no iframe or anything. And then if we go into our product cart, we also have like simple charts embedded here, no iframe again. And for instance, we have in drill down here, which is something that we don't have in other parts of the like in static embedding. I'll show you a few other things. So you have the ability to like embed dashboards. This can be interactive too. So you can have the drill down. And then you can also create dashboards, create questions, and all of that, right? So like this is the notebook editor that you're familiar with from Metabase, right? But if you notice, like this is heavily themed. And one of the things we wanted to do as well is to show how far you can take the theming. So we have 3 shops here, and if you switch the shop, you see how different the look and feel is for, let's say, the notebook editor, but also for dashboards. We've customized all the colors, the backgrounds, all of that. And there's a 3rd shop. This is more of we picked this on purpose to be dark. So like to just make sure this is going to work for applications with dark background. And so this is it. There's a lot, like this is the demo. I thought if you are familiar with embedding, I hope you can tell the difference. If you're interested in this is currently compatible with Metabase 51, and it's currently in public beta. And we'd love for all of you to take it for a spin and share your feedback. If you go over to our documentation, you'll find docs on all of the different components that we have. So you can have, let's say, for instance, you can embed a static question. It means like you cannot like drill down or do anything with it, or you can embed an interactive question. If you do that, for example, you have a number of options, like whether someone can modify the query or not, whether the query can be, the question can be saved or not. and so on, like hooks for before and like for saving, and a whole bunch of stuff. It works with React 18. It works with Next.js. So I hope that's exciting to you. And then moving on to other improvements we shipped in 51. So we have downloads and PDF exports and static embeds and public links. So let me show you. So before we had downloads and public links and static embeds, but it was a bit inconsistent. So for example, if you're using public links, you could not download the dashboard card results. These would be, let's say, the download buttons that appear here, right? Or if you were using static embedding, you couldn't hide the download buttons. And so we fixed that. We make it consistent so it works across the board for public links and static embeds. And we also added the option to export as PDF, which is a highly requested feature for static embedding. So this is now added to static embedding as well as public links. And then if you're a pro or enterprise user, you can also disable the downloads by appending a downloads equals false parameter in the URL. And then the other thing that we worked on was transparent themes. So if you've noticed here in the preview, if you're familiar with static embedding, we used to have 3 themes like dark, transparent. And for transparent, we used to receive a lot of feedback that it didn't work for folks, or they would even they would go as far as to submit pull requests trying to get their code in because to make it work for them. I think part of the trouble was that if you when you switch it to transparent, everything was transparent. So the whole dashboard itself, right? And this usually generally doesn't work really well, because if the card is transparent, it's usually not very readable and so on. So what most of the folks actually wanted is to be able to choose either light or dark, but then make the background transparent, right? Which makes it blend more nicely with your app. So your app could be app's background could be red, right? And then you could choose light or dark, right? And then this is going to blend in nicely with your app. So this is what we did. So we've removed the transparent theme, at least from the UI. And now there's this toggle dashboard background. Yeah, I think this is it from my side.
Awesome. Thanks, Alberto. Yeah, thank you to all of you. That was a great release webinar. But before we go, we're going to get into the Q&A. And we have quite a few. And some have been sort of answered throughout the webinar. But I'm just going to go through all of them for the people who are watching later, and in case anyone missed them. So these are a little bit out of order, but let's just go for it. Okay, so first question is about plots. Will there be an option to add data labels to some plots, such as scatter plots, anytime soon?
Yeah, I can take this one. So yeah, in Metabase 50, we added the option to bring data labels within stacked bars. We added more customizability for pie charts in 51. And yes, in the future, we will be kind of beefing up labels elsewhere as well. The first domino to fall here is probably labels for stacked area charts. Scatter plots is very much in that same vein. So yeah, you can expect this to come at some point in the future. It's well within the kind of wheelhouse of how we're thinking about things and what we're working on now.
Awesome. Love a positive answer. Okay, next one. Can you have the iframe respond to dashboard filters in the same way that text cards do?
Yep, another one for me. So yeah, we were talking about this in the chat, but not currently. So currently, iframes don't respect variables or parameters, but in the near future, we have plans to add them for both iframes and link cards. So you should be able to change a filter and then it'll propagate to your iframes. Once again, not currently supported, but it is like a follow-up that we have planned, and that probably enables like a lot more kind of configurability and like a whole suite of use cases with iframes that I haven't even probably thought of. So it's exciting to hear that you're interested.
Cool. I think the next one is also for you, Connor. Will pivot tables totals now show when sending email reports?
So it will in the attachment. Like when you're configuring your subscription, you'll have the ability to denote if you want it formatted, if you want it pivoted or unpivoted. So you'll have all those same knobs that I showed in the demo. The embedded pivot table within the email itself will still look the same it does now. So that hasn't been improved in 51, but the attachment should look a lot closer to what you were working with in Metabase.
Cool. Are there any plans to make cumulative summarizations usable in other questions?
Yeah, I think I can answer this one. So before, I think 50, cumulative summarizations were calculated in the front end, what made it impossible for them to be used in nested questions. But I think since 50, at least for some SQL databases, we started to use window functions, and now it's possible to use them in downstream questions. I think we need to check which database you need, but because we didn't implement window functions on all of them. So I think if you take a look on the release notes, it's defined which database are now using window functions. So on these ones, yeah, you can use, and we are migrating the others while, yeah, we figure out how to implement window functions on all engines.
Cool. Oh, I lost my place here. Can we delete collections or still no?
Yeah, with the new trash feature, you can send collections to trash, but you can't permanently delete them yet. This is something that we are working on, but not possible to permanently delete collections yet.
Okay. Do query runs from alerts count as usage?
Yeah, this is something that I should have clarified on the cleanup feature. We implemented something very deep into the stack to get all usage on questions and dashboards. So we are not only counting direct views, but also any usage of the question. So alerts and subscriptions, very specific things like custom field values, sandbox definitions, all of these things count as usage, so we won't send to trash things that are used in any way.
Cool. Is Metabase 51 on cloud yet? The answer is not yet, but it should be within the next few days.
Yeah, almost there.
Yeah. The next one is the long one. Okay, so I'm just going to take the key question from this one. Will there be an option to completely disable self-service for specific user groups? Specifically, we want to block features like creating and duplicating dashboards, personal spaces, and viewing and modifying metrics. Most of our users need only to view and filter dashboards without any building or editing access.
Yeah, this is something that we are taking a look. It's not something that is planned for like now, but yeah, it's a common ask and something that we are evaluating how to resolve in a good way.
When we delete the questions permanently in the trash, is it going to hard delete the questions in the database or just soft delete?
It's a hard delete. If you permanently delete the question, it's gone. It will still be present in Pro and Enterprise versions on audit logs and stuff like that, but the physical entry in the DB will be gone. Yeah.
Cool. Time grouping one. Is time grouping just for the query builder questions, or will it work with SQL questions as well?
Right. So time grouping currently works only for query builder questions, right? It's the same principle as with the drill down, is that we don't parse your SQL queries, so we can't like insert a new time grouping yet, but we are looking at making it available for native queries because it is one of the most requested features. So we have work on this planned for the next couple releases.
Cool. On the roadmap, there was moving filters closer to vizzes that they're related to. Is this still happening?
Yes, not in 51, but it's on the roadmap and planned for the foreseeable future.
Cool.
Yeah, there's a question there about hiding metrics for groups. Like, just answer that one. Like, metrics now live in collections, and they respect collection permissions as any other question or dashboard. So you should be able to move these metrics to collections that are hidden from everyone else. So this didn't really, or at least shouldn't have changed from the previous release. So if there's anything off there, yeah, let us know.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for catching that one. Inbuilt dark mode, is this on the way or not really?
Yeah, this is one that we are moving towards it. We don't want to release like a dark mode that's half broken. So it's on. We have a very large project ongoing to migrate some front-end infrastructure so we can have a very good dark mode. Nothing that will ship in the next release, but we are moving in the right direction to have a very nice dark mode in Metabase.
Nice. Is there a timeline for when the performance of pivot tables will be improved?
Yes, so we're actively working on this now. I'll drop a link to the roadmap, but you'll see here enhanced pivot tables are being actively worked on, and we hope to have them a little snappier in the next couple of releases.
Cool. Can we set those background options on interactive embedding?
Yeah, not at the moment, but yeah, down the line we may explore exposing these options, like or even custom theming, but not at the moment.
Cool. Is there any plan to make background picture for dashboards, or I guess change the background picture for internal analytics, not embedding? Sorry, I butchered asking that. Is there any plan to be able to change the background picture of a dashboard, basically?
Gotcha. So yeah, there's a suite of like configurability options for dashboards that are pretty limited right now. Things like changing the color or the background. Something that's on our radar, but not actively being worked on. So we'll continue to evaluate that with other dashboard improvements.
Cool. Got a few more questions here. Are there any plans to add support for a tree map-like chart?
Yes. So you saw the beautiful sunburst chart in the demo. Not to tease 52 too much, but you'll see a beautiful Sankey chart in the coming months. Tree map is not far after that. So yes, there are plans to add tree maps.
Spoilers. And bubble charts?
Bubble charts.
Like a geographic map.
Yeah, so maps and Metabase are a little bit of a bigger undertaking than like a new chart type. So there's more work and thinking that needs to go into this. Something that's on our radar, but not being actively worked on or in the plans yet. There's a lot of improvements we need to make to maps.
We've got a few questions here about AI features as well. Any news on those?
For AI features, this is something we're experimenting with a lot internally. Can't make any promises as to release date or form. It's something that's kind of changing day to day, but it's something we're thinking about and experimenting with a lot. So yeah, hopefully we'll have more news in future webinars.
I've got another chart question here. Word cloud visualization, is that being considered, Connor?
Yeah, it's on the list with new viz types, like somewhere below tree map, but above others. So yeah, like we'll continue to prioritize all these new chart types based on demand. So word cloud will be one of those being considered.
Cool. Will there be a feature in the future to support other types of calendars, e.g., I don't know how to say those, Shamsi or Hijiri?
Yeah, we are exploring this. We have a kind of a longer term localization effort ongoing. For now, we are more on the planning of things, and calendars came to the discussion along with right to left things, different languages, and also things about time zones. So I think we are a bit far, but we are considering more special kinds of localization now.
Cool. There's a question here. Can Alex get more screen time? There's a reason that Alex is the star of our YouTube channel. So go check out more of Alex's videos. Also rewatch this on demand afterwards. Is it planned at some point to allow pivot table for SQL questions?
Yes, this is in the same kind of suite of things around enhanced pivot tables. So making them faster, providing new knobs, and making them supported in SQL questions is all kind of being lumped into that project.
Cool. How can we increase table row limit from 2,000 in Metabase running on a Docker container?
Yeah, I replied that one in the chat with a link. There is an environment variable to change this for self-hosted customers and users. So yeah, check that. You can take care, because if you increase this too much, you can make Metabase very slow or even crash. So there are some performance considerations there.
If the question is built with the query builder, hovering over the column allows us to see the column description. Will there be a way to do this in a SQL query-based question?
So you can save your SQL question as a model and edit the metadata for that model. So then anything that you build with that model will then have the descriptions. So that's the way to do it. But otherwise, yeah, because we don't know what you're querying in your SQL. So unless you tell us, we can't pull the descriptions. So making a model is one way to do that.
Cool. I think we got all of them. There's one. There's one about some nifty vizzes that ClickSense has called tabbed containers. Great for flicking between vizzes and raw data tables. That's not a question, but is there any plan for tabbed container-esque type viz, Connor?
It's something we explored and prototyped a bit in recent months. No concrete plans now, but like richer kind of cards and dashboards is something that we're thinking about alongside filters, which will get richer as well.
Cool. There's a few more questions coming in. Anything on the roadmap for question lineage? We're build a question from another question a lot. For context.
Yeah, this is something that we're also exploring. Nothing planned for now, but we are touching this problem with different angles. So probably in the future, not short term, but we are working on this lineage issue across all components Metabase, like dashboards, questions, tables, models. So yeah, this is something that we're exploring now.
Cool. Looks like there's a follow-up question here to one that you answered, Alex. Will the metrics still be usable in existing dashboards if hidden?
So they should still be visible to people. They just won't be able to use them. But also, actually, you seem to have a very interesting permission setup, and we'd love to talk to you about what your needs. So if you can contact us, like our support team,